Wow. It took a little bit longer than expected, but I think we're there with my Kakeibo budgeting application built entirely using Gemini 4 and, let's be honest, Claude. So without further ado, let's dive in and take you through the process. Okay, so this is for my Kakeibo budgeting idea. So I've been looking into Kakeibo as a way of budgeting my weekly sort of funding for my retirement, in my financial independence, call it what you will. And this is an old Japanese, I say old, it's 100 years old, Japanese budgeting technique that was developed by a female Japanese journalist, as said, in the 20s, I think, as a guide to the Japanese housewife, how to manage the money and the accounts of the household and stuff like that. So I've already done deep research on that, and I was using the Google Deep Research tool, and I looked into Kakeibo, the history, what it's all about, and I had a report done. And then I've asked it here to provide me with a basic step-by-step guide so I can understand and utilize Kakeibo in my weekly budgeting during retirement. So very specific. Then it's broken it down here, what you need to do, step 1, step 2, step 3. This just helps me understand the concept a bit more. It's very straightforward. It broke it all down. So now I want a prompt. And again, I'm not going to prompt it. I'm going to get Google Gemini to come up with the prompt. So I said, based on the above, I want to develop an app to help me with my budgeting and manage this. It needs to be easy to use, provide useful information, and an opportunity for me to reflect on the things when I review at the end of the week. So that's important. Must be a single HTML page, can use Python JS, Free.js, act as an expert prompt engineer, and come up with a prompt for this that I can use. So that's what we're doing. So let's bang the gong. So quite comprehensive here. This is why it's always useful to get your AI to generate the prompt that you're going to use. Look at the detail in here. You are an expert full stack developer specializing in creative, interactive, single page web application with data visualization. Project goal, the core Kakeibo principles, application and structure to be in a single HTML file. That's important. And it breaks it down into header section, monthly section, daily expense logger, weekly review and reflection section, data visualization using Three.js, technical implementation details. Let's just take all of that, put it in here, bang on canvas, and let's see what happens, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so it's running the code here. Of course, I love the way, of course, it's a fantastic idea to build an application, darling, to put the Kakeibo principles into practice. Let's have a look. I'm not sure entirely what I want, so I'm sort of hoping that it can come up with something that I go, oh, that's good. Okay, it's breaking it down here. I've created the application as a single self-contained HTML file as requested. Now, it used to be in Canvas, you used to be able to see it. But I'm just going to have to manually again save the code. Yeah, save the code. Oh, okay. Okay, let's do it. Oh, I don't mind. I can save it. That's the annoying thing about this. I mean, it used to. I don't know why the canvas doesn't work so much now. There's an error there straight away. So we'll just copy that. So we need some work on it. So I've come back with the following error there. Oh, it probably needs a library, doesn't it? Maybe that's what it is. It's calling on a Python library. Okay, so it's corrected it. We'll see whether it works or not. But interesting about the journal here, it looks, the way that they lay it out and the colors that it uses is exactly the same. Let me show you my fitness app. It's the same sort of layout and drop down boxes and everything. Not on mine, but you know, I could always change up the colors if I want. Right, let's close that down. It's still working on this. Let's get the file open. Open with Notepad. Let's get rid of all of that. Okay. Okay, there it is. So the error seems to have gone. So put in, say, £2,000. Fixed expenses, say £700. Monthly goal, say £200. Calculate and start each month. Yeah. So let's take a photo. Look at that. Yeah, nothing happens. So look, nothing is happening when I press the, what's it called? Calculate and start month button. And I'm just going to add the picture there so it knows what I'm talking about. So you can fix it. What I might do is I might run this in Claude, because people say, oh, that's better at programming. Although I have found Gemini to be really good. That's why I'm always using it. But on this occasion, there seems to be a bit more problematic. Oh, of course, it looks like you've run into a common timing issue with PyScript. Running with, okay, well, whatever. I mean, we just want the basic functionality working before we get into the details. Now, I know I could just cut and just paste it all over this, but I just like to know that the sheet is entirely blank before I put in the new stuff. Okay, so say £2,000, £700, £200. Same problem. So let me work on this a bit and then we'll see whether it can solve it. Okay, so the button is still not working. Yeah, a race condition where one part of the code isn't ready when the other tries to use it. I've re-architected the startup sequence to be more robust. To prevent this from happening, I've replaced the standard browser alert pop-ups with a cleaner custom message box that's integrated into the page. Okay. I'll take your word for it. Open. Right. Well, it looks the same, but we'll see. 2,000, 700, 200. Useless. I'll work on it a bit more. Okay, so I've run it again. Gemini is, as ever, apologetic. And this basically re-architects the startup logic to be much more robust. Instead of JavaScript guessing when Python is ready, I've flipped it so that the Python script itself will give the all clear to the JavaScript, telling it to start the app. This completely eliminates the race condition, which was causing the button to be unresponsive. Okay, one more time. Let's give it a go. I think we're going to get caught in a loop here. Yeah. Now there's no boxes to fill. Just blank. And then we'll show them a picture. We'll show them the incriminating evidence. I mean, I did copy all the code, didn't I? Yeah. Nothing. Oh, yeah, it says, of course I see the problem. It's frustrating to get a blank screen. Yeah, of course it is. Anyway, incorrect configuration. This will fix the blank screen and get the application working as intended. That's all I'm asking, people. Are you finished writing it? Yep. Okay. Copy. Boom. Open with Notepad. No. Nada. No. Still blank. I'm gonna put an emoji here. Sad face. Yeah. Yeah. Putting an emoji, I think, helps. Let's see what excuse it comes up with now. We'll come back in a little bit later. Thinking about it. We're in the pro mode. This is disappointing. I've opened up Claude. Maybe if it knows, it'll get like a bit nervous that I'm going to ditch it for Claude. You said it before. That's what you said before. Bad piece of configuration. Get it right. Lord. It's a toughie one this time. I mean, it's never a simple app, is it? File. Save. Let's try again. No. It's broken. Okay, I pasted it in Claude. It went in as a text file. But there we go. Let's go. I mean, wow. Look, Claude's put some little icons here I can see. Maybe Claude is better. Maybe I've just deluded myself all this time. Wow. Okay, no, there is an import error there, but I like the layout a lot better. It's put it in yen, but oh, a financial garden as well. I'm loving this. Much more imaginative, although I hadn't finished. Got to continue. That's why. Okay, we'll let it off. But that was looking much better. Oh, look. Your plant reflects your weekly budget health. That is beautiful. I love that layout. Then error message. See if it understands that. Meanwhile, Google says he's finished. Yeah, she. Gemini, sounds a female name. Gemini says she's finished. Yeah, we'll see. You're close to the... I'll tell you what, you're close to the exit door. Carry on with this behaviour. Quite frankly, not good enough. I expect better of you. I just have high standards, you know. I'm not a hard taskmaster. We just have high standards. I expect you to deliver to the standards I require. Right, there we go. Save that. Boom. Okay. Let's run that baby again. Let's see what happens. Nada, nothing, useless, it's fired. Meanwhile, over at Claude, I see the issue. It says the Py script isn't loading properly and the code is displaying on screen. Yes, I can see that. We're doing coding. A Kakeibo journal. I know what that is. Yeah, exactly. Well, when you see it, you'll be amazed if I ever get it done. Although Claude has come up with a much more imaginative user interface. It's basically sort of a savings and budgeting application that was developed in Japan about 100 years ago, aimed specifically at Japanese housewives who usually control the budget in the house. But it's more than just a budgeting tool. It also asks you to think about how you're doing each week in terms of your spending and saving. And so you form a different relationship with your money. So it's kind of that kind of spiritual relationship with money rather than just maybe a toxic relationship with money. You're nice. Yeah, exactly. When this stuff works, it's amazing, but when it doesn't, it's frustrating. Always takes me back to the time when I had a ZX81. And you used to manually type in the code. And you just one full stop, one semicolon out of place. Thousands and thousands, you just copying code from a magazine. Like symbols, codes, letters, numbers. One full stop, one semicolon out of the place after you type hours. Nothing would happen. Oh, the joy. Meanwhile, back at Claude, here we go. Okay, what's my monthly income? Say that's £2,000. Say that's £700. And we want £200, okay? Yes. I'm afraid, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to Claude. And we've got needs, wants, culture, unexpected. Okay, so let's say, we spent £54 and it was needs, add expense, needs 54. Okay. And then at the top here, weekly target, spent this month, remaining. I think this is much better. I mean, obviously. And the tree here reflects my weekly budget health, which I absolutely love. If I just move my head a bit, you'll see that, fine. The plant reflects your weekly budget health, which I'm really liking. So look, Claude took about 2 goes. And what we've got here is at least a good and then I can reflect. Put my thoughts down here. I'm liking this. This is good. We're gonna stick with Claude. Sorry, Gemini. We're gonna stick with Claude. And yeah. Can we change this from yen to pounds? So we just I don't know what's happened there. Have I run out of stuff? Anyway, we were doing so well there. We just need to change it from the yen to the pounds. And I think as I said, we've got a good basis to work on. So I'll come back and we'll work on it. Yeah, nice and simple. I'm going to go back and say I used Claude AI. Here is its code. Use this, but change yen to pounds, yeah? And then I'm going to give it, here's the code right there. Right, no problem, it says a bit jealously. It looks like the code from Claude AI is a different approach, using pure JavaScript instead of PyScript. I've taken the whole code you provided, swapped out. Okay. Let's see whether this will work as a HTML page, because I don't have the canvas here. Whew. Okay, open with Notepad. Let's see, swapping between the two. Because I have a paid Gemini account, I can just do a bit more. Otherwise, I have to come back to Claude tomorrow. But what I do like it much more, I love the little symbols, as I said. Let's see if it copied it exactly. Unbelievable. Gemini, get you borrowing Claude's homework? Unbelievable. Can I borrow your homework? Okay, there we go. So, right, we borrowed Claude's homework to get what we want. Monthly income. Let's say 2,000. It's all in pounds there. let's say 700. How much do you want to save? Say 100. Start and calculate each month. Right. Weekly target. So then it goes into the weekly targets. So I say, I spent £54 on groceries. Add expense. So what I really need, though, is under the needs, wants, under these subheadings, is I want to use these as have subheadings underneath it, so I can be specific about what it is I'm spending. So, there are like fixed costs. Culture, yeah, I like the culture bit. Wants, needs, yeah. So we just got a bit more granularity there, a bit more detail. But well done to Claude. Claude wins it, especially with the tree, which I really like. Let's work on this a bit more and we'll see what we can come up with. Okay, I like what we're doing, but what I've added here is what I noticed it didn't have. I wanted a button on a second page to allow me to go back to the start month page. So once you've set it up here, say like you put in 55 and it's I don't know, wants, right? Hobby, add expense. And then I want to review my monthly setup. So I put in an amend monthly setup. So you go back to this setup. But what I want to add, I want more granularity. So what I want to add is my target for fixed expenses and my target for variable expenses. I guess that's what's left. And then in here, I want subcategories as well. And then finally a button which will take me to a more granular breakdown or charts of how I'm doing on each of the categories, if that makes sense. Just a bit more detail. So if we go back to this amend, I think what I wanted, and the same monthly income, I want to be able to break down the monthly income, predict. Actually here we want to put in income, to see whether the income matches. The thing with Kakeibo is you're starting with the amount up front. Right, so you know straight from the get-go what your monthly amount is. What I want is it to reflect actuals as well. So maybe this is the target month. Yeah. Okay. Let me think about this in more detail. Let's put in some additions anyway. Okay. In the monthly setup page, I want a variable monthly expenses. Yeah, so I can see what's sort of left in a way. We're going to have to do this bit by bit, I think. It's going to get complicated otherwise. Should have explained myself a bit clearer there, I think. Okay, it says it understands. This app will also remember this value if you go back to amend your setup. Okay. Let's see. But what we're going to do is we're going to change this to index. Since I know this code works, we're going to copy that. I'm going to open the index. Edit in Notepad. Original index page. And we're going to get rid of that. Then we're going to save this. Right, so we know that page works, but what we're going to do here, while it's doing its coding up here, index 2, we're going to put it in index 2, Notepad. And we want, oh yeah, close that a minute. Okay, that's index 2 page. Let's open that. Oh, there we got your variables now, you see. Fixed variables. Brilliant. So if we go, that's that. Variable expenses, let's say 2,700. Yeah, let's say just 800, right? Now what it's gone and done there, I've taken a 1662. How does it get to 1662? All right, 38. That's 1600. So it's saying I've got £400 left. I see. £90, 38. And I've already spent. Yeah, that's not quite working out. It's what it's doing. It's saying I've got £92, 38, and I've spent 109, leaving me 1662 over. Okay, so make sure that the weekly figure includes the variable. Yeah. Yeah. The weekly figures need to include the variables. Yeah, see, the logic's it's taking a slightly different logic here. These are targets. Yeah. So it needs to include the variable monthly expenses. This is like the target budget. All the items on, yeah, the weekly expenses page. Yeah. Hope that makes sense to it. But what we want is the needs need to consist of fixed expenses and some variable things. So your food will be variable. You know, food won't be the same each week. But say your council tax or your mobile phone bill or whatever, or your fuel will be, not your petrol, but your heating or whatever, electricity, although that can vary. Okay. I think we're getting there. I'm just going to have a think about, I'm going to play with it a bit more, and then we'll add some more elements to make it more sophisticated. Okay, so I've added here, add a weekly target for fixed expenses, and under category, add fixed expenses section, so I can track this, and total will need to be monthly. So your fixed expenses, they tend to be monthly expenses, not weekly expenses. So I want to be able to track that over the month. So if I pay, £500 for some fixed expense in that particular week, I want to be able to sort of see it tracked on the weekly tracker, even though it's not a weekly expense. That makes sense. So it's done that, of course. It added a new fixed expense category, monthly fixed expense tracker as well. So now I can add the fixed expenses in, and this is what we've got. So you'll see here, obviously my monthly income, the fixed, the variables, the savings. Then you'll see here at the top, so my weekly target is the same. Okay, that's after fixed expenses, remember. But at the top, fixed paid monthly, got target here. So if I, for instance, let's put in, target here, right? Why has that not added that up? Okay, 1200. It hadn't because I've refreshed it. Okay, so what we really need is, if my monthly is over, this needs to show, I need to see that it's over. So that's something else we can add. We need to be able to edit these and have a date on them. We didn't remember this. Remember this, but it didn't remember this fixed expense. If I recycle that. Yeah. Why did it not remember that? That's interesting. A slight bug there. They didn't remember that. But I want to show maybe change this to red if it goes into the red. And again, option to delete some of today's expenses is what we want to add in. So a little bit more detail. Not sure what's happening with the tree, but we'll find out after a while. I think I'm going to try and use it, sort of do an experiment of a week's expenses and see what needs changing and things like that. But we're getting there. We're building quite a sophisticated little app, I think, that's going to be really useful for plotting your sort of budgeting, which is the whole point of this exercise. So I've worked on this a bit more to refine it, and now we've got the whole week's expenses, so I can add expenses for the whole week there and have a look back and then collapse them like that. So there we go. It automatically defaults to the daily expense logger for today, but of course I can go back through any day of the week there. We've got the monthly analysis, which keeps a track of the whole month. So currently for June, we keep the whole track of the whole month. And yeah, I mean, the jar, I'm not sure it has that much effect. Sure, when I add an expense, a marble falls in. Yeah, I might color code some of the expenses, or I might dispense with the budget jar altogether, or come up with something else. But the point is, everything seems to be working. I've not found sort of any more bugs in it. I need to live with it and work with it for a few days, but I think we've finally got something that I wouldn't say I envisaged straight from the beginning, because I wasn't sure exactly what it would look like in the end, but I'm very happy with what I've got in the end. And yeah, I'll adapt it over time to see whether, once I've done a whole week, once I've done a month, whether it functions across a number of months, etc., and keeps track of stuff, and maybe you can add in some more features like some data analysis and things like that. But overall, I'm very pleased with the basic setup we've got here and how it all functions. So there you go. As I said, it took me a while. We needed to call in Claude to kind of take over because Gemini wasn't quite delivering. In fact, what Claude came up with was much more imaginative and clever than what Gemini originally did. But of course, I don't have paid Claude, but I do have Gemini Pro I pay for. So I use that to finish off the code that Claude eventually came up with. So there you go. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. And I hope you're enjoying these little coding sessions and joining the journey with me.